We genuinely live in one of the most bizarre eras in American and global history, ladies and gentlemen. The President of the United States of America is making accurate predictions about the stock and cryptocurrency markets, which are generating trillions of dollars in profits for investors. The price of XRP, the rest of the cryptocurrency market, the stock market, and pretty much everything else will be greatly impacted at the same time by China's recent direct involvement in U.S. politics to protect their interests in a very peculiar propagandistic manner, among many other things. However, Trump essentially boosted XRP and the cryptocurrency market as a whole, giving everyone a great opportunity to invest before a huge pump. Furthermore, not many people actually anticipated this to occur, and I have to admit that I don't think this place will be completely green for the foreseeable future. In the coming days, I do believe that the markets will continue to experience some crazy activity. However, a lot of pretty significant things are happening at the moment, particularly in the technology sector, which is known to be strongly linked to the cryptocurrency market in the United States and, of course, the global market. As you can see, the United States publishes reciprocal tariff exclusions for shipbuilding equipment, laptops, and smartphones. In other words, essentially all laptops and cell phones will not be subject to the actual tariffs. This is a massive American industry. Almost all of the leading American corporations are in the technology sector. You look at companies like Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft, and so on. These are the biggest companies in the world, and they are all closely related to the chip manufacturing and computer smartphone industries, of course, because they are so dependent on them. In other words, Trump is essentially bailing these individuals out by enabling their exclusion, which allows Apple to continue producing its phones, computer chips, and other items in China. This is now a little disappointing to me. He may have justifications for this, such as the possibility that changing this may have a detrimental short-term impact on the U.S. economy, but in my opinion, this is not what America needs in the long run. Therefore, I sincerely aspire to learn more about their motivations. Perhaps there's a reason I'm not giving credit here. Please share any more information you may have about this in the comments section below. However, this has undoubtedly led to a huge short-term rise for the technology sector, as investors have simply realized that if everything that makes these computers function is no longer going to be tariffed, then there isn't as much danger anymore. All of these are not included. All right, we should be able to purchase our technology stocks once more. Amazon will now claim that it will still be greatly impacted. Although there is much more going on here, I do believe that cryptocurrencies will undoubtedly gain greatly from this news. As you can see, this was the highly popular post on Donald Trump's Truth Social. Now is a great time to buy, he says. After posting that on his Truth Social, he received hundreds of thousands if not millions of likes. Additionally, since that guidance, the reciprocal tariff halt of 90 days was declared. The Fed stated unequivocally that it is prepared to stabilize the market if necessary. The announcement was made of reciprocal tariff exemptions on computer chips and smartphones. The market capitalization of the S&P 500 increased by $3.5 trillion after Trump urged China to request a call for negotiations. Naturally, there have also been some really fantastic runs in the cryptocurrency market. After this small nugget, XRP is currently trading very near to $2.15. Thus, for once, you know the little guys did win. This time, whomever took Donald Trump's counsel performed well. Obviously, this hasn't always been the case, but this time around, Donald Trump's statement was accompanied by a lot of positive news. However, the Chinese reaction is what I truly want to investigate here. All right, the Chinese embassy in the United States recently posted this. It's fascinating to see that they are essentially using propaganda to persuade Americans to support the removal of tariffs. China would obviously not even bother assembling these kinds of items if they had no concern for these levies. However, I'm going to play this for you guys quickly and sort of outline the issues I believe will result from this. But pay great attention to this. Small companies are the foundation of the economy and the center of America. However, as they fight to survive the consequences of the tariffs imposed by the Trump administration, these tiny firms are facing a more intense storm. Based on a survey of almost 100 small firms that import items from China, a piece published in the New York Times on March 1st highlights the growing pain brought on by President Trump's tariffs. The targeting of China by Mr. Trump has caused chaos for millions of small enterprises. Tariffs were being borne by American companies, not Chinese suppliers. They are compelled to decide between increasing prices for customers or reducing their own profits. Due to their higher cost, domestic alternatives were typically not feasible. There were fewer alternatives and the quality was lower. In my opinion, the entire policy is predicated on a fiction and a fallacy.
Oi.
The misconception is that these tariffs are funded by the foreign nation. False. I work for a U.S. corporation and am a U.S. citizen. These tariffs are paid for by me. China is effectively saying, okay, you guys are going to pay for these tariffs because we refuse to, per the report. That's basically what they're saying now. They claim that in order to cover the additional taxes they must pay, all of these Chinese manufacturers will now hike their prices. The additional cost will be passed on to the business owners who resell their items in America, even though the Chinese corporation will originally be responsible for paying the duties. However, this again fails to address the fundamental problem. The United States of America does not make or generate these things. All of them are being produced abroad. Trump's exceptions for computers, smartphones, and shipbuilding equipment are the reason I'm angry, because this is where the great majority of Chinese suppliers generate a significant portion of their revenue. Therefore, the Americans will be under less pressure to collaborate now that these men have all these exclusions in place. And while Donald Trump did provide an exception for big businesses, this will actually hurt small business owners. Indeed, it is possible to argue that Apple will be manufacturing in the United States. Yes, that is accurate, but they will still be doing the great majority of it abroad, which goes against what most Americans want to accomplish. Therefore, I believe that you must take it all the way if you truly want to go all the way. And I'm a little miffed that some people are being left out while small and medium-sized firms are left to fight this battle alone, and corporations are getting away with it. I'd really like to know what you guys think about that, but I also know what you guys are really interested in, and what the actual effects of this will be on the economy, now that we know that this is Trump's plan. For 90 days, he is suspending tariffs outside of China. He claims that small and medium firms are being left in the dark about the negotiations with China because there are exceptions for things like computer chips and smartphones within China. Basically, from the perspective of small and medium-sized businesses, it will compel individuals to cease doing business with China. It appears that big businesses will still be able to conduct business with China, at least in the technology sector. Therefore, nothing will actually change there. However, what impact will this have on the economy? For several industries that currently rely on Chinese products for their manufacture, it will undoubtedly be difficult. And until something significant occurs, which as we all know does occur pretty frequently, it will take us a few years to truly figure it out. Almost every day a significant update announcement is made. We will undoubtedly receive more today as well. As we can see, the SEC has now published its instructions, and both the rules and their purpose are quite obvious. Crypto is here to stay, and those who own XRP have anticipated this all along, don't you think? This is fantastic. At last we are gaining clarity. It's great to know that the new SEC head has been sworn in. As of April 10th, April 11th, and April 12th, they are currently making updates to their website. They've posted fresh films, speeches, announcements, meetings, events, and more on their website, and they're essentially saying, okay, these are the rules. This is how we do things, and it's fantastic if you guys want to make sure you're following the rules. Crypto businesses are thrilled about this, and it will finally enable those collaborations to take place. Therefore, it's possible that there will be some ambiguity surrounding China, small and medium-sized company relationships with China, and tariffs. However, since everyone is negotiating new trade agreements, tariffs are essentially on hold for 90 days throughout the rest of the world, and that's wonderful. As a result of these tariffs,